Fall is here and we're going to need heavier skirts. This reversible wrap skirt is ideal for the fall and winter. Watch how easy it is to construct. I'm going to start with a circle skirt that I've already cut out. This is the same fabric you saw me make the circle top out of. I also have a skirt made out of this. I also have a circle vest made out of this. I just happen to have a lot of this fabric. So now I'm going to cut a circle skirt from this. You see I've laid the gray skirt on top of the blue because remember they're going to be reversible. Now all I have to do is cut it out. So here we have the two skirts cut out. So what we want to do now is lay them together and pin them together so that I can sew the outer edge and as well as the side, because remember it's a wrap skirt. Now you see I have both pieces pinned together. The best way to pin two skirts that are circle skirts together is to actually lay them out on a table or on the floor so that you can lay them both completely flat. If you don't do that and you try to pin them in your lap or just pin them randomly, remember the hem, majority of the hem is cut on the bias. So if you don't get them exactly even, then you're going to get a warping in your hem. And you don't want that. You want everything to lay nice and flat. Here is my outer edge. This is the part that connects the sides. So I'm going to sew this in a U shape. I'm going to go down one side, go around the hem, and then come back up on the other side. I've reached the other side, so now I'm just going to turn and pivot and finish sewing up the other side. Now that the skirt is finished, what I'm going to go and do, I'm just going to go and cut the excess seam all the way around, so that way when you turn it and press it, your seams will lay a little flat, more flat. When I get to the corner, I'm going to cut across because I want to make sure that corner gets turned up in there nice and neat. So now I'm going to cut the rest of the hem. I finished cutting all the excess seam off. So now you're going to take the garment and you're going to turn it. And I suggest when you turn it, you find a corner first, because you want to make sure that when you turn it, you get that corner nice and pointy. So what I do is I take my thumb, I stick my thumb up in the corner, and then I take a finger and press it out, and then I push it so that when I turn it, I know I get a nice turned edge. And once you completely turn it all, you want to go to the iron and you want to press it flat. And in this case, the gray is going to be my dominant fabric. So when I press it, I'm going to press it this way with the blue facing up, and when I press it, I want to make sure I see just a hint of the gray, because when I flip it, then I won't see any blue. I wanted you to see how I press the hem. As you can see just a hint of the gray on the outside of the blue. When it's on the gray side, you see none of the blue. Another thing I wanted you to see, by pressing the hem so that you only see a little bit of the gray, that's going to force that blue to be a little more longer at the top than the gray. Now mind you, mine was already a little bit longer, but now it's a lot longer. As I'm ironing, what I'm doing is I'm making sure I push the gray fabric forward as I press, and when I push the gray fabric forward, it's going to expose the excess in the blue. Of course, I'm going to pin that. You want that one to be the fabric that's sticking out at the top. By doing that, you force the bottom to stay in place. It won't roll on you. The skirt is all pinned, but you can see how the hem turned out. By pressing it, you don't see any of the blue. It's laying nice and flat. And if you were to flip it on the other side, you're going to get just a hint of gray. So it's going to be really, really, really flattering because it's going to be a reversible skirt. So either side that you have it on, it's going to be quite pretty. I've stitched down my skirt at the waist all the way around. Now this is where you want to try this on and make sure you're getting enough overlap. If you're not getting enough overlap, what you can do is simply cut off 1/4 of an inch of your waist, only 1/4 of an inch at a time. Remeasure it and see if you're getting the overlap that you want. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a small waistband to go over this. I'm going to cut my waistband 3 1/4 inches wide. Since I'm just cutting the width of the fabric, I know that this waistband is 60 inches long, and I know I'm not going to be needing all of that. You're not going to have any overlap fabric because this is going to be your finished edge, and it's going to overlap here. So you don't want any extra waistband out here. You want everything to be flush on the outside as well as the inside. You're going to allow for a 5/8 inch seam allowance. You can fold that over and measure this around. And then that tells you what your measurement, and you leave a 5/8 inch seam allowance on the other side. So I'm just going to go over here and cut. I am paranoid about having anything too short. So I cut enough. So what you want to do now is you definitely want to interface the waistband. So I have my waistband cut and I have it interfaced. I want to show you guys something I do with interfacing. I don't like throwing away anything, so I take scraps that I have left over for interfacings and I use it on waistbands. So here you see that I have pieces. There's a piece there, there's a piece there, and then on the end I went and cut little extra strips. It's all good stuff, so I don't throw it away. I put it in the waistband, and guess what? When you put it on, you don't even notice that it has been pieced. Now, one more thing I'm going to do on my waistband. This is a sash that I had made to go with the other portion of this outfit, you know, the other pieces. Well, I decided I want a sash to go with my skirt. So since this sash is already done, I'm just going to simply cut it in half. And I'm going to put one on one side and one on the other side. You're going to take right sides together and you're going to lay the waistband down with your seam allowance on the outside, and you're going to pin it in place. Now we're at the end. Now remember, I cut extra fabric here. I'm going to go ahead and cut off some of the excess because we've got to put that sash in here. So I'm just going to cut off right here where I know I got enough. I'm not going to stitch a 5/8. I'm going to stitch a 3/8 because I want to save as much length as possible on my skirt. So now that the waistband is attached, so now you want to go and do the finishing, but you want to add your sash. So now remember, here's the sashes we cut in half, and at the end of each sash I've already got the nice tassel point. I want the points going down, kind of facing the bottom of the skirt. I'm going to have to put a pleat in here. So this is the center portion, so you're just going to overlap just like that and make a little pleat. You want the pleat going in the same direction as the point, so you're going to flip it with right sides together. Now if you go to put it on here and you notice it's a little bit too big, no problem, just make your pleat a little bit deeper. So you're going to take the sash and you're going to put it at the edge of the waistband and pin it. So there's our fold line of the waistband. You're going to actually fold the waistband down over the pleat, pull it nice and tight, and pin that in place. This is going to be your finishing portion of the waistband. You want to make sure when you get down to the end, you want to tuck in just a little bit. So you see how I'm turning up my waistband? It's like 1/4 of an inch or 5/8 of an inch. It should be the exact same seam allowance that you stitched. Make sure you tuck in your sash. You don't want any of your sash to get caught in that seam allowance. You're going to stitch double stitch or back stitch and stitch straight across. So now that's what it should look like. You've got everything up in there. So what you want to do is cut that excess off, and then you're going to turn it. There, you got a nice pleat on that side, and you got an upper pleat on this side. I've completed the sash on the other side, so now you want to finish off the skirt. You're going to tuck this under, and you want your fold to fall at the edge of the stitch that you join the waistband and the skirt together, and you're going to pin this. I have my waistband pinned all the way around from one side to the other. You're going to sew a top stitch right close to the edge. You're going to get as close to that edge as you can without running off. I finished sewing the top stitch. See how nice that turned out? Now notice what you see on the other side. When you flip it over, you got the same nice top stitch. So here's the skirt. So when you wrap it 2 inches, you notice that the outer sash is here. That's your 2-inch mark. So you would put a pin right here. And then you notice that the other side, the sash comes, is also 2 inches. So what you need to do is now we're going to have to make a buttonhole. You're going to need to put a buttonhole right here so that when you wear this sash, you can stick it through the buttonhole and it'll come out and it'll match up here. Okay, I've done my buttonholes. I've got a really thin mother of pearl button that I think will look really nice on the outside. I'm going to line up my skirt, and you see when you line up, you've got your spots where everything needs to be. So right here is where you're going to put the button on this side, and right here is where you're going to put the button on this side. I've sewn on my button, and remember, whatever you do on one side, you have to do it on the other side. Here's our finished skirt. You can see I have wrapped the reversible part on the outside just so you can see. I've paired it with a cute top, little simple top that I made to go with it. And here is the reverse side. So I hope that you will try this easy reversible circle skirt. Happy sewing!